Okay, so a short reflection on the Dhamma. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. So, hello everybody. Nice to see everybody here today. Can you hear me okay at the back, Tudor?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, so today we're back in our kind of our original spot, one of our original spots. Actually, when we first started, we were often in the library downstairs. And then there was even a time that we were in the conference room for a while, weren't we? We kind of sit in the conference room and meditate there. And then today is they're preparing for Katina. So there's a lot of work happening in the shrine room over there. And so we're back up here today. Kind of all these different spots, all these different situations. And then we get together and meditate, you know, whatever the situation tends to be, you know. So I was telling, I think I said a bunch of times when I first was going to start this program, asked Bhante Suranapala, I was like, what do you think? Should I go for a program in the east end of Toronto? Because he holds one in the west, and most places will have like a meditation program kind of like this. And he said, yeah, you can. Yeah, he said, yeah, you can do it, but he said, you know, it's a commitment, and you have to do it every single time, you know, no matter what's going on, you know. So I remember, I don't know if it probably dates me, but when I was young, there was this kind of movie, Happy Gilmore, you know, and it was this golf movie. It was a kind of comedy. And in this golf tournament that this guy was in, they had to, wherever this golf ball landed, I don't know if there's a real rule in golf, but wherever the golf ball landed, no matter what kind of random obstacle fell on the golf course at that time, if the golf ball landed in the midst of this obstacle, they had to still play. You know, they couldn't kind of remove the obstacle and kind of put the ball on the ground, you know, where the obstacle was. I don't know if that's a real rule in tournaments or not, but in this movie it was. And so all these things happened, like, you know, the ball ended up going on this guy's shoe, and he had to, you know, hit it off this shoe, and then this, you know, this huge hydro pole fell over, and the guy had to do like a mini putt thing where he kind of putted it up, and it went all down to little things, and then, you know, into the hole, you know, it's kind of, you had to play it, you know, wherever it stood. You know, that was the kind of rule for this golf tournament, you know. And so in the same way, kind of Bhante Suranapala laid down this kind of a rule, you know. He did not lay down the rule, but he said, you know, no matter what the situation, you have to conduct this meditation program, you know. Even if one person shows, you have to conduct it, you know. So even if nobody shows, still, actually now with Facebook, you can still conduct it anyway. But there's actually a kind of a very important principle behind that, you know, because, you know, situations are not always going to be, you know, absolutely ideal, you know, every single time. We want to develop wholesome qualities, you know, we want to kind of meditate, you know. Actually, you know, being in the shrine room is really nice, or being up here is actually very nice too, you know, in the summer. It's very quiet, you know, it's quite warm. You know, today there might be many things that are not 100% ideal. It's not, you know, maybe like 21 degrees, maybe it's 16 degrees in here, I don't know. And, you know, there's a lot of work going on with the Katina downstairs, so it's maybe not as quiet, 100% quiet as it could be, you know. But, you know, it's kind of nice in the dark, it's easy to meditate there, you know. And often our kind of the situations we run up against in our life are kind of like this. You know, it's kind of not necessarily always going to be the case that every single thing we encounter in our life, every situation we encounter in our life will be composed entirely of these good qualities that we were all kind of just waiting for, you know? It's not like every single day it's going to be the case that, okay, you know, we wake up, get in our car to go to work. We go to work and there's no traffic on the road. And after having a nice, quick drive right through the center of downtown Toronto at 7 in the morning with no traffic on the road, we pull into the underground parking lot and there's a space immediately free right next to the door. And we hop out of that space and we go up to our workplace and, we walk in the door and it just so turns out that we got promoted that day. It's kind of an ideal situation, right? Kind of something really good like that happens. Maybe it happens sometimes, But in any event, it's not always the case that happens. Most days, we get into the car and go to work. And depending on the direction we're going, if we work east from Scarborough, then there's probably no traffic at 7. If we work west from Scarborough, then there's probably going to be traffic at 7 in the morning. And so there's an important principle in this because there's actually a choice that we have in all these situations that we're in. These situations are composed of these various elements. And that's what it means to be in the human realm. That's what it means to be a human. We get a mixture of good and bad situations. But it's our minds, it's our perceptions that choose what to grab out of a situation, and then taking this from this situation, make a world out of it. So there's people who I've got friends in traffic, and when they get in traffic, they get so angry. Like you don't even notice it. Like, it's like, what this guy doing? I can't believe. It's like, what happened? I didn't even see him do anything. He was just driving. What do you mean? He didn't even cut you off. But they're just like so angry. And then, okay, the guy passed, And then it's like 5 minutes more down the road. It's like, what's this guy doing? Turn left. How come you're taking so long? They're just so angry. You kind of see it when you're in the car with these people, just like, furious the whole car ride. And you're in a car with another person and there's like a huge traffic jam and they're not angry at all. It's kind of, what do you expect? It's 7 in the morning. We're going to Toronto. There's going to be a traffic jam. And so all of this is a matter of the perceptions that we cultivate. Because in each of these cases, what we actually have is a choice on what to look for, on what to feed on. There's kind of often this word like a pet peeve, that people have, It's kind of something that, when I was young, it was kind of this kind of cute thing. It was like, something that made up our personality, right? Everybody had this pet peeve, something they really liked to get upset about, It was kind of cute. Yeah, I hate traffic. My pet peeve is traffic, I hate, whatever the weather is. My pet peeve is the weather, Or, I can't stand whatever. That's my pet peeve. It's kind of this cute thing, You kind of get annoyed about it and everybody kind of smiles. Oh, there's this person going off again about the traffic or the weather. But the thing about that is in cultivating this kind of pet peeve, we're cultivating kind of a lot of suffering, Right there is a situation where there's a choice whether or not to get peeved about something, and we can choose not to. We can choose, rather than looking for the bad situations in that, bad aspects of that situation, we can choose to look for the good aspects of that situation. And we choose to talk about the good aspects of that situation with other people. Now right here, this is what builds a lot of the momentum in our perceptions. Actually what we share with other people. I remember when I was in university, and my friend was really into this public motivational speaker. His name's Tony Robbins. He's kind of very famous motivational speaker. He gets the crowd, hey, come on, clapping it up. Come on, guys, gets the crowd going, and everybody's like pumping their fists. And he's a good speaker. He actually has like some genuinely good points. Many genuinely good points in his talks. I remember one time actually, my friend got me into him, and at the end of his motivational thing, he went through this kind of like metta exercise, like spreading metta. I think he got it from Buddhism, and he incorporated it. But anyways, there was this story that Tony Robbins told in one of these tapes in university, and he was kind of coaching. I think it was In Sync, And he was trying to get In Sync. He's like, okay, guys, we're going to get excited. Okay, you guys get excited. And they'd be like, yeah, you know. He's like, okay, take it up a notch. And they'd be like, yeah, yeah, you know, getting more and more excited, right? And he's like, okay, that's not enough. Let's take it up another notch even further. You know, this is the way Tony Robbins kind of talks. And so then they started kind of like high-fiving each other, you know, like, okay, woo, kind of high fives, like low fives maybe, you know, kind of maybe jumping up in the air together, I don't know. But you can imagine things were getting kind of fun there, you know. But he had a very good point, you know. Tony Robbins is a good speaker, and he has many good points. And one of them was that when people want to increase the level of emotion they have, they share it with other people. In other words, this interaction with other people amplifies this kind of emotion of excitement. Yeah, I mean, you can get excited by yourself, you know, watching the basketball game on TV, like, yeah, you know, go Raptors, you know. But if you have a sports stadium full of 10,000 people, and they're all screaming, that's very exciting. You know? And so the same thing with the way that we cultivate perceptions. A lot of the perceptions, a lot of the good or bad that we can perceive in the world actually gets amplified by the way that we speak to other people about our perceptions. You know? So if when we're talking to people, we're always complaining, you know? It's like, yeah, you know, this terrible thing happened to me, and complaining about this person, you know, oh, this person, da-da-da-da-da. And before we know it, it's like an hour of complaining. And then the other person starts complaining to us, you know, about the things that are happening in their life and the people in their life. And we're just complaining. And then before we know it, we leave that conversation, these negative things become the basis of our perceptions, you know. That's what happens. Instead of we ratchet up excitement, we can ratchet up this feeling that there's bad things in our life, you know. Actually, I was just thinking about it today, you know. Actually, being in Canada right now, this is it's a place of incredible wealth and power, you know. Almost nobody here really is hungry, you know. Like, you rarely hear about somebody starving to death in Canada, you know, or somebody dying because they didn't have enough water, you know. These are basic elements of existence, you know. Having enough food to eat. We don't even think about it. It's always there, you know. That's a big tick off the box right there, you know. Having shelter. In Canada, pretty much everybody, I mean, there's homeless people, of course, which is very tragic, downtown, these kind of things. But there's actually government housing available for most people, and kind of most programs. It's very well organized, you know. And yet, even in a country like this, it's possible to make oneself very miserable, you know? Kind of everything we need is right here. It's possible to make oneself miserable. And it's by taking these negative aspects of a situation, cultivating that negative thought, and spreading it around to other people. So often I actually do a little test, or not do a little test, but one of the ways you can tell this kind of thing is if we're interacting with other people, and we try to say something positive, you know, like, yeah, okay, you know, it's fall, you know, or whatever, you know. You can say something positive about fall. You can say something negative about fall. I mean, for one thing, fall is cold. You know? I mean, there's people like cold, and there's people who don't. I personally don't like cold. You know? And so I could talk for a long time about, you know, how fall is cold. You know, the leaves are changing. Yeah, it's pretty, but they're going to be brown soon. You know, they're going to be on the ground. And that's a choice. You kind of spread that around. That becomes a basis of a person's perception. It can make themselves miserable. There's another choice. So fall is actually a time of a lot of beauty. You know, it's kind of very beautiful colors in the air. And kind of the trees are all changing. Actually, the air is very fresh. It's possible to breathe in a lot of kind of fresh air. Very easy to breathe in the fall, easier than in the summer. These are good things that one can share with other people. Can ratchet this kind of positive emotion up by talking about these things with other people. You can kind of notice when we talk about things like this with other people, there's two choices that other people have. Either they take that, and they're like, oh yeah, it's really nice out. Yeah, you know, it's nice, the fall. Take that and say, yeah, it's nice. Or they take it and flip it. Oh yeah, it's fall, but it's, the leaves are going to fall soon. It's going to be cold. It's going to be terrible. This is the beginning, And in interacting with people like this, we get to see a little bit about what their mind state is like, Some people are like this. Everything you say to them, throwing a ball, it's like throwing a ball up a hill, You keep throwing it up, and every time you throw it up, they throw it down, It's like, yeah, this good thing's happening. Whew, up the hill, boom, back down to the ditch. That's where these kind of conversations keep going, And that's not to pass a kind of judgment on people or to, say, an interaction with other people. But this is something that we can reflect on in ourselves, In my interactions with other people, in my conversations with other people, do I converse with them like this, People say something positive to me, that's a chance to take that and run with it. That's a chance to take that and share it with that person. And actually a lot of energy can come from that. A lot of good energy. It's like a positive interaction that people have. Now the tricky thing about this kind of positive interaction, this kind of positive perception building, is it's often not all that exciting. That's what we find. Talk about how the day is nice, doesn't have the same hook as talking about, oh yeah, you hear about the murder that happened and the Young and Dundas or whatever kind of terrible thing happened on the news, Oh, you hear about the terrible thing that's happening in Syria, I mean, granted, these things are terrible. It's not good to have them, and in a democracy, it's important to know about how political leaders are handling these things, because the way that the political system is here, people have to vote, unless you're a monk, And so there is an element where we have to engage in that kind of thing, as if people are lay people. But there's also another element where we have the choice to choose our topics of conversation, choose our topics of perception, What we find is choosing these topics of perception, our speech can get a little bit boring, This is the kind of paradox here, There are these elements of perceptions that we can grab onto that are exciting right away, that seem really great right away, that are fun to talk about right away, but lead to long-term pain. There are these perceptions that we can have that aren't that exciting right away, that start out small, but lead to long-term happiness, lead to long-term pleasant feeling. And this is the thing, we notice this when we keep trying to take the positive out of a situation. It's something that starts out small, Just this kind of positive interaction with other people. Oh yeah, so what's going on in your life that's good? Whenever we're interacting with somebody, try to think, what's good in this person's life? And then talking with them about what's good in their life, not about what's bad, So I kind of, sometimes when you do this kind of thing, talking with people about what's good and positive in their life, on a subtle level, I think they notice it, They get the vibe, like this person is taking joy in my happiness. And it creates this kind of bond of unspoken friendship, between the people who interact this way. Kind of bond of unspoken happiness. And it's something that starts small. But when we practice this over and over again, practice cultivating these positive perceptions over and over again, then what you find is it gets larger and larger. Instead of being something boring, you start to be able to take a lot of joy just out of sharing a positive experience with somebody. Oh yeah, the fall colors are really great. You like fall, don't you? Actually, personally, I share a secret, I like summer. But talking with people about how good fall is, even if, it's maybe not so good for you, but for the other person, oh yeah, the air is crisp. Oh yeah, the leaves are nice. Yeah, that's nice. I mean, these are actually nice things for even somebody who doesn't like fall. Yeah? And that can kind of build this kind of joy that's right there. Doesn't cost anything, Don't need a lot of money to have this kind of happiness, And it's something that's possible to cultivate all the time. Basically with everybody we interact with, this kind of feeling of goodwill. What's good between us that we can share, And in looking at these kind of things, looking at the way that these kind of patterns emerge, okay, look, when I cultivate these positive perceptions, it keeps starting small and grows larger. When I cultivate these negative perceptions, it starts large and grows smaller. I know several people now, when you see people, some people watch the news quite a lot, and talk about the news, and they're just terrified. Some of these people get so scared. Like, you're living in like a, like a nice suburb. Like, there's no murder in that suburb, for like 30 years or whatever. Like, never, never a murder. And people are just so frightened. They've got to lock their door. Like, every time anybody goes out, they just can't have this door unlocked. It's like, somebody's going to break in. It's like, no, nobody's going to break in. Like, when was the last time you saw anybody trying to break into the house at 3 p.m., on a sunny day? But this perception is there. This kind of perception of fear because of watching these kind of negative stories on the news, because of talking about these stories with everybody, because of consuming them, But the nice thing about this, as we mentioned, we have a choice, We've got a choice whether to think about the shooting at Yonge and Dundas or to think about the fall colors. And we've got a choice to think about how this person is being mean to me or whatever, or we can think about another person in our life who's kind to us, We've got a choice in our speech, whether or not to talk about the negative things in our life, the negative things in other people's life, or to talk about the shared things that are positive between us. One of these paths doesn't take much effort at all. It's like rolling a ball down the hill. The other one does take effort. It's like walking up a hill. But the thing about this, like going up the hill like this, building these positive perceptions over and over again, this is what leads to a long-term, sustainable, happy life. That's the secret. It's not like a secret like, get rich quick, $1 million secret. It's a secret like, okay, the way to a healthy body is to eat right and exercise. That's a secret. It's possible for everybody to do. The secret to having positive perceptions, happiness in our life, is to cultivate them, to grow them like a garden. When we see them coming up, we water them, we make them grow. These kind of good thoughts, may you be well, happy, and at ease. May I be well, happy, and at ease. Kind of thoughts of non-jealousy. Something good happens in somebody's life, great. May that happen to you more, May you not be parted from that. Something bad happens to somebody around us, may you not suffer. How can I help you? Is there a way that I can make your life better? And if there's things that we can't change, like murders in Yonge and Dundas Square or whatever, drive-by shooting in New York, war in Syria, we develop equanimity towards that. This thought, all beings are the owners of their karma. Whatever karma beings do, they're the heir of that. This is happening to these people, and I can't help them. If I could, I would. But if I became totally upset, angry, or sad about these things I couldn't change, my mind would become disturbed. If my mind was disturbed, people who care about me would worry. People who don't like me would be really happy. And I wouldn't be able to cultivate wholesome qualities. So for this reason, I'm going to remain equanimous to these situations that I can't change. Now, this is where we develop these kind of 4 Brahma Viharas, these 4 divine dwellings in our life. It's a choice that we have. It doesn't cost any money. Doesn't require a lot of setup. Doesn't require a big investment in capital. It just requires time. And it's kind of time and effort. It's kind of patience to have something that starts small, like a little tiny plant in the garden, and to keep watering it. Keep watering these positive perceptions. Keep watering thoughts of goodwill, thoughts of compassion, thoughts of empathetic joy, and thoughts of equanimity until they grow strong into a big plant. And this is what can lead us to a sustainable, happy life. Something that depends on this, not on external things, Not necessarily on who's in our life or what's changing, but on these wholesome qualities that we ourselves cultivate in our mind. And that go with us wherever we take our minds, which is pretty much everywhere. Okay, so I think I'll leave that for your reflection.